You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan Schwarting and Kaan Bayazit.
İşaret geldi. Ricardo Quaresma! Ricardo Quaresma! Ricardo Quaresma! İyi nokta. Gol! Quaresma ortayı yaptı. Sekti. Gol! Gol! Gol! Gol! Gol! Gol! Maç boyunca durdu, şimdi attı. Abu Bakar attı. Abu Bakar.
Hello, Black Eagles. Welcome back to the Black Eagles podcast YouTube channel, or if you're listening to us on any other platform, welcome to the Black Eagles podcast. My name is Kaan Bayazit. As always, I am joined by my co-host Sinan Schwarting, and today as well joined by Yasin Parlaksu. We're coming off of a very painful night in the UEFA Europa League. It was the opening game in the league stages of the Europa League. I think we were all excited, hyped up for the match. We had a lot of expectations. Then we saw that lineup. Sinan, Yasin, welcome. Sinan, what did you think when you first saw that lineup? What were your first thoughts going through your head?
Boy, I think I was thinking, what is he cooking? What is he doing here? It wasn't entirely clear, why Mustafa was starting. That definitely raised some concerns. The 260s in the midfield was also noteworthy. Didn't have me especially excited, but I thought, you know what? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's thoroughly scouted this Ajax side. Maybe he has a very clear idea of how they're going to play. Maybe this is, intentional, and he has, some sort of master stroke up his sleeve. He kind of knew something that we didn't. It was my hope, I guess. What do you think, Yasin?
Outside of the Mustafa Hekimolo decision to start him, I kind of understood where he was coming from. I thought, he's gonna play with 2 6s with Al-Musrati and Onana. I never really liked Onana. We're gonna come during the match discussion about that. But I kind of understood, look, he wants a more defensively solid lineup against tougher European opponents. But as we saw in the match, that didn't exactly pan out.
Yeah, and then there's the question, is Ajax, as they're currently constituted, one of those tougher European opponents? And I think, it's instinct for us to assume so, right? I automatically assumed they were the second most difficult side in the tournament. I think that's probably also because, weren't they in pot 2, if I'm not mistaken?
Probably they were, yeah, because it's not because they were not great last
Good,
season.
right? No,
yeah.
just because they've been playing in the Champions League lately, regularly, and all that. So, no, I assumed they were going to be good. I assumed they were going to be one of our tougher opponents. All of our Dutch friends have gone to great pains to make it clear that that's not necessarily the case this year. That they're not a particularly strong side. So, it is what it is. I think you'd expect us to come out and play defensively against, what Ajax traditionally is on the pitch, reputationally anyhow. And yeah, I guess you're right. That was my thinking too, Yasin, was that he's probably playing conservatively because he assumes this is the strong Ajax side. I also was unaware of the fact that this is maybe not the strongest Ajax side. And I wonder, you assume that Giovanni van Bronckhorst would have known that.
Yeah,
but
he has no excuse for that, he's Dutch, he needs to be
he should be more aware
of what this Ajax side is capable of. I'm just trying to make sure that the stream is working properly, because I'm seeing a lot of frame loss here on my screen, but I don't know if that is...
Yeah, I see a little bit of a delay on our...
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure, I'm just trying to verify, so if you're watching, please let us know if the stream is coming through clearly and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Look, I think Giovanni van Bronckhorst played with way too much respect for this Ajax. When I first saw
Definitely.
the lineup, I immediately felt like a pit in my stomach. First I heard, oh, Mustafa might be starting, and then I'm like, oh. My first initial reaction was, I hope that Chiro isn't injured, right? Like, I hope that's not the reason why. Let's have a look here at the lineup, by the way, in the meantime, while we speak. But yeah, I hope Chiro isn't injured. That was my initial reaction. Turns out he wasn't really, but there was some quotes. I don't remember if it was before or after the game where Gio did mention, like, the last 10 days have been pretty physically demanding for us, and essentially he did mention that Chiro that he won't be able to play every game. So I guess it was kind of a decision of giving him some rest. But then I saw the lineup and I saw Onana in it, and I wasn't already super stoked about us not starting with our number one striker, because I think getting off on a positive note in the Europa League stages is important, and obviously that didn't happen because Chiro was on the bench. But then I saw the lineup and I saw Onana in the lineup, and then I really felt like a pit in my stomach. I was like, oof, I don't like this. But my initial, well, not my initial reaction, but like my second reaction was, okay, we need to have faith in what Gio does. He hasn't steered us wrong. He hasn't made any big mistakes or anything. He has, he always has an idea. He always has something. So I went into the game in the back of my head thinking, I had serious doubts, but I was like trying to talk myself into, okay, just trust the process, trust Gio. Then, like the first half hour, I saw what he was trying to do, kind of, but I didn't really think it was working. The first 30 seconds, if you'll remember, we immediately almost could have scored, because Mustafa was like true on goal, but got blocked in the last second. Could have scored right then and there, and if he does that, then you're probably like, oh, perfect, Gio is a genius. But then I felt like throughout that half hour, we had a couple of moments here and there, but it did shape into, they were threatening. I felt like the goal was coming. It felt like that, and it wasn't really working. And a little disappointed. Do you want to go over the lineups, Sinan?
Sure. And I'll start with our opposition for in the name of, I was going to say respect, but I don't whatever. It is what it is. Fine. Yeah, I'll start with our opposition. In goal, they had the 40-year-old Remco Pasveer, which I don't, respect him for being 40 and still playing, I guess. Josip Sutalo next to Yuri Bas, very young pairing on their back line. This guy Jorel Hacho was a bit of a pain in our ass, I'll say, for much of this match. He played on the left side opposite Devin Wrench. So also two very young fullbacks. They're both 21, I think, or something like that. And then, of course, you've got the old vet Jordan Henderson in the middle next to Kenneth Taylor, who was also a pain in our ass. And the biggest pain in our ass the entire match was a young man who goes by the name of Kian Fitzjim, which is sort of a funny little name, Fitzjim. But his game wasn't very funny, sadly for us. It was quite serious. Devastatingly serious, you could argue. Bertrand Traore was on their right wing, a name some will recall. Didn't he play for Başakşehir?
Yeah, he did play for Başakşehir. Scored against us even.
He was a pain in our ass, wasn't he? He was a bit of a weak side.
He was one of their less impressive players, I felt, and he's played. This is his second stint at Ajax, and I think in his first stint he was actually really talented and good, but he's definitely. I think he has regressed a little bit as a footballer.
Yeah,
over the years.
Probably Başakşehir didn't help. I'm kidding.
I liked him at Başakşehir actually, but
yeah, he was great. He was really good. He was above the league's level in some ways. At least Anadolu's side of it. Anyway, on the left side, and this was sort of interesting. They had a guy named Mika Guts, who maybe I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Yeah, he's a Belgian kid.
Yeah, he's Belgian, 19. A lot of people were thinking, oh, that's great. Like, Jonas Svensson is such a pro. He's going to pocket this kid. And sadly, it was quite the opposite. This kid was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was one of
aside from
was maybe Svensson's worst game in the Beşiktaş shirt. I would say.
I think it was. In fact, for me, it was the only like clearly bad one. You know, in a Beşiktaş shirt at this stage.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he's been pretty consistently good for us.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say this Mika Goods guy for me was probably the second, you know, right behind Fitzjim as one of their best. And then you had what's this dude's first name? Brian Brobby?
Brian Bobby.
Brian, yeah. One thing I will say about Brian Brobby is that I heard a lot of people being very critical of our central defender Felix Udokai previously after Eyüp, saying he was slow. And I noticed that Felix Udokai was keeping pace with Brobby this whole match. So I don't know if that's a counter to some people's criticism
Were people calling
Udokai
slow? I was surprised.
Yeah, I didn't and they were pointing to some moment that I had literally gone to make coffee, you know, when it happened, so I didn't know what they were talking about. And I didn't see any replays of it on Twitter or anything like that. But you know, in our group chat, they were all like, there was like 4 guys talking about it, and I didn't agree. You know, just from what I had seen, and yeah, but definitely against Brobby. You know, some people, I think, you know, one of those Dutch fellas in the group, negative Dutch fellas, was talking about how great Brobby was. But it's worth noting he didn't have any goals. He was largely
one of the few guys.
Yeah, one of few, exactly, which is like a challenge, you know, yesterday apparently. No, but you know, I really felt like Udokai was on him. I think that might have been his like assignment, because he was on his ass. Pause. No, okay. Anyway, finally on our side, you've got Merkunok in goal, Felix Udokai opposite, Gabriel Paulista. Neither of them, I mean, ironically, neither of them had a really poor game, despite, you know, anyway. Arthur Masuaku opposite Jonas Svensson, and both of them had fairly terrible matches, sadly. Al Musrati opposite Jean Onana in the back of our midfield, and yeah, we'll talk about that performance in a minute. Jedson Fernandes up ahead, and I think that's probably one of the big tactical errors, you know, playing 2 6s and a box-to-box midfielder. We didn't have a lot of flair. Just sliding Rafa Silva to the wing, not playing Semi. That was a mistake in my mind. Rashica played opposite him with Mustafa Hekimoğlu up top. You know, an interesting lineup. And like the one risk is playing Mustafa Hekimoğlu, and I think, you know, if that pans out, everyone says you're a genius and his career is like ignited, and sadly it did not pan out, and it looks short-sighted. But the opposite of a risk was playing Amusrati and Jean Onana, I think we could say. What's going on, Yasin?
No, I just wanted to say that I think he's burning out Mustafa in a way. I think in a lot of the performances we've seen from him, especially since the Super Cup, he's getting a lot of criticism now from fans, and a lot of people are calling him chirp, and that's very unfair on him, because he's a very young kid. Mm-hmm. He's 17. I don't think it's fair on him that he has to play so much when there are other players.
What do you mean play so much? Like,
I think or maybe like more in the sense that he played this game. I think that was a error.
Yeah, I agree with that. But like, I think the minutes he's been getting are fine.
It's perfect. I mean, that's what you want for a young striker, right? Like, you want to get him some experience.
Not against,
but yeah, obviously starting in Europe is another question.
Yeah, against Trabzon, when we still needed a goal, it's also kind of ungrateful bringing him in.
Yeah,
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, I mean, you know, other than that, I mean, you know, like, I think the problem perhaps is more in the sense that essentially the media was reporting that Van Bronckhorst didn't want another striker and that he was happy with just Mustafa, and I think that's probably what sets the expectations a little high. At the end of the day, it's a 17-year-old guy just coming up. But I said this before. I think, you know, a type like Weghorst as a second striker, somebody like that, not Weghorst necessarily, but like somebody who can come off the bench, make a difference, have an impact. I think we needed that. But at the end of the day, if you look at all the players we got rid of over the summer, all the players we brought in, like, you can't make a perfect squad in one window. Like, that's not realistic. I think we got pretty close to getting a really strong 11, not a perfect 11, but a really strong 11. To expect on top of that you're also going to have really good coverage for every single position in one window, it's not very realistic, I think. So hopefully in January and next summer we can add more to the squad and improve the squad. And you have to hope then that you aren't in 6 months saying, oh, you know, we signed this and this guy in the summer and we need to get rid of them, like we did last season, you know, with Rebic, with Ox, with Onana, perhaps, you know, like those types of guys where you're not like not even 10 months later you're already trying to get rid of them again. You need a good summer window. Like I think we've had, I've said that in the past and I've been wrong, but I really hope that this will turn out to be the case, that we have a good window this summer and that we can add to it going in January and then in the summer. Now look, it doesn't mean that you can't make a team or put a team together that can seriously compete for the championship, perhaps even win it in one window, but you cannot expect to assemble an entire almost perfect squad in one window. That is just not going to happen. I myself am not happy with the depth we have at the left back, at the perhaps right back, and especially and at the striker position. We have to improve those. We have to improve the depth on the wing, or even, you know, our starters. But that's all stuff that will have to come in subsequent windows. And I think what they have done this summer has been very good, but it's obviously still work in progress, you know.
And I'm of two minds on a couple of points. I don't disagree with any of it, first of all. But first of all, regarding Mustafa Hekimoğlu, I really feel like he needs to gain experience. So I'm glad he is playing to some extent. Obviously, yeah, he shouldn't be starting in Europe, much less our first game in Europe, right? Which is the kind of one where there's the most pressure, right? You know, it's worth noting Ajax had a great crowd. Great respect to them. They really did show up. I think you could all agree. And but yeah, I mean, I think Mustafa needs to play, and I really genuinely think if he can just bag a goal or two, suddenly, right, his confidence will come. He'll start being useful. But we definitely also need an option in the interim when you need a goal, and like, for example, you want to rest Ciro Immobile, or, you know, if he's getting tired in the 60th minute, and like you said, we're tired against Trabzon. Yeah, you want to have someone slightly better. I wish we had, you know, not Wout Weghorst, Khan, and not because I don't agree with you on Wout Weghorst, but just because he's a foreigner. But like maybe an Umut Nair, or you know, we were joking about Serdar Dursun, but like someone of that ilk, you know, who could come in now and make an impact, you know, when, you know, who's a little bit more of a sure thing than Mustafa Hekimoğlu. And I think you want to have a Hekimoğlu there for when you're like 2 goals up, or even just a goal up, but like against like an Anadolu side or something. But yeah, that's definitely a hole. But like you said, like how many of these holes could we kind of cover over in such a short period of time? And yeah, that was the second point. I think it's unrealistic to expect like sides who are well constructed and even didn't have that much to do have holes, right? Most clubs have holes, and it's something that one has to deal with. Now, we have a few too many because of where we're coming from. But I don't know. I still very much feel like we're positioned to have a good season. I don't think this spells doom for us. I think it was just like one bad day coupled with a couple poor decisions. You know, it's like one of those when it rains, it pours situations. You know, I don't think it's the end of the world, and I think the best thing we can do is kind of put it behind us for the most part, not let it like affect us, and not let us, especially our players, not let them think that that's like the norm for them. You know, hopefully we come out on Monday and kick Kayseri's ass and just put this behind us. That would be the best thing for us to do. And I hope in training there's very little dwelling and very much to just focus on the next match, you know, and having, you know, altering the mentality of how they're going to go out.
Yeah,
So those are my 2 points.
I already thought that. I already had the impression that Gio was already thinking of the Kayseri game even before we started this one.
When he took Rafa out. Yeah.
No, not just then. Also the fact that he started with Ciro on the bench, and then obviously yoinking Rafa at 3-0, which I know a lot of people don't agree with. I personally actually do. I think that was a right call. I don't think there's any benefit to leaving Rafa on the pitch for 80 to 90 minutes in a game that is clearly lost. One of our friends in our group chat said, "Yeah, but we didn't give up against Benfica," but you cannot compare that. Like that was a home game. You had a halftime talk to get through it. You had some, you had a chance there to turn the momentum. This was at minute 60 or 63 or whatever it was when he took Rafa out. And it was very obvious the momentum of that game was not going to turn anymore. So then, with Rafa being as important as he is, I think taking him off was the right decision. It was a lost game already at that point. The only thing that we could really do was limit the damage, and we didn't even manage to do that. But yeah, I didn't see much benefit to leaving Rafa on the pitch the entire game. I understand people paid a lot of money to be there. Well, essentially 32 euros for a ticket is what they should have been paying, but I know a lot of people probably bought tickets on the black market and paid like 100, maybe 200 euros, and it's a lot of money. But yeah, you can't expect Giovanni to leave his best player on the pitch for no legitimate sportive reason. Like there was no added benefit to it. And yeah, I agree with you, Sinan. We need to see a firm reaction now on Monday against Kayseri. They need to win that game. If they drop points against Kayseri on Monday, that's going to instigate a mini crisis or a big crisis. I think a big crisis, honestly.
Could be, especially if we have Eintracht Frankfurt on Thursday. It could snowball real quick.
It could snowball real quick now, right? Like you just lost 4-0 against Ajax. It is both an advantage and a disadvantage to have a game again so soon. I think it's a good thing because the team can, if they react well, they can get rid of these bad feelings. They can immediately turn their switch and they can focus on a new game, turn things around. And if we win convincingly on Monday and then we get a good result against Frankfurt, and a good result could be a lot of things. It could be winning, could be getting a draw, as long as you play some good football. I think first and foremost, we need to play our own game. I think the biggest mistake yesterday, the absolute biggest mistake, it wasn't even starting with Mustafa or Onana. It was the intention and the game plan and the mindset of the team. Because I said it earlier, the first 30 minutes, you could kind of see what he was going for. Sitting back deep, preying on the ball recuperation, and then quickly strike on the counter. We had a few moments, I think 2 or 3 moments, where we almost managed to put Rafa through on goal or Mustafa put through on goal. We had a few of those moments where they, at the very last second, managed to intercept the ball. If one of those moments goes our way, maybe we're talking different right now. But I think the biggest mistake is this was our 9th official game. And we've obviously played friendlies as well on top of that. So let's say it's like our 14th match or something of the season. You have been playing the entire season with a very specific philosophy in mind. And that is essentially have the ball, press real hard, and attack. Try to recuperate the ball high up the field if you lose it, and then knock them on the attack. But always, we were talking about this, I think, in recent episodes, our ball percentage this season has gone up significantly compared to last season. I think last season we were on like 55%. This season we're on like 60 something. And we completely went against the grain. We completely did something else. We gave Ajax the ball. I think it was voluntarily. I think we voluntarily gave them the ball, gave them possession, and gave them initiative and say, hey, you do what you want, just, you try and build up and we'll try and get the ball off you and hit you on the counter. And essentially what we were doing is what Eyüpspor was doing on the weekend. The only difference was Eyüpspor weren't afraid and were confident in what they were doing. Our team was not, because they're not used to playing like this. And I think it just completely and utterly backfired. And Giovanni needs to realize that he has a team that is used to playing a certain way. And I'm not saying you can't make changes, obviously you do, but I don't think you completely go to the polar opposite. You don't go from trying to be a dominant team, dominant in possession and attacking minded, to sitting back, defending and looking to prey on the counter. I just don't think that works. It clearly didn't yesterday. I don't know a lot of teams that can just turn that switch like that. I don't know what you guys think about it.
I fully agree. The other thing quickly is, Farioli historically played that kind of low possession game with Alanyaspor. And so I thought, interesting, okay, Giovanni's like trying to out Farioli, but then, and at first, as you said, like they almost were on their back foot, kind of like they didn't know what to do with that. I think they expected us to come out like Beşiktaş, come out thinking we're the better side no matter what, especially like we're not playing like Liverpool, we're not playing freaking Man City here. So I think I think even Farioli at first was like, whoa, what do we do with this? But then, they very quickly figured out what to do with it. And also, I have to say credit to Farioli. It looks like he really did his research. He like that move to put Rasmussen on the side of Masuaku and have his pace with that little bit of technique. Masuaku was lost. He was lost out there. Yeah. Yasin, you must have something to say.
Yeah, I fully agree with Khan. We need to play our game first and then consider the opponents next. After this loss, I don't know. Maybe it kind of made me too negatively polarized against how good we are. But I'm not confident anymore. I think this game, this result, the way we played especially, if we played well and we conceded 4 goals, then that would be something different. But we played really poorly. If we play like this, we're gonna lose every game.
Yeah.
We have.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily there's no coach like Farioli in Turkey, right?
Yeah, but I don't.
No one's gonna prep for us like that.
But
but you're still right.
I'm not confident.
Do you really think we lost because of Farioli? I don't think we did. I think we lost because of Gio.
Yes.
I fully agree we lost because of Gio, but I just mean I think Farioli had game planned around what he knew of Giovanni van Bronckhorst, and I don't know that a lot of Turkish managers have that capacity. But nonetheless, like if we play like chicken shit, we're gonna get our asses handed to us. I think no matter who we play against.
We should have just played like we did against Galatasaray in the Super Cup. I don't understand why we would so drastically adjust ourselves then. Like, look, if you're playing Manchester City or you're playing, a really, really good elite European team, then you can justify maybe not playing your game. But against this Ajax, and I really want to emphasize this Ajax, not, if there's any Ajax fans watching, but you have to, this Ajax is coming off of a terrible season, just like we are. But contrary to us, up until now, their season wasn't really going so well yet. They drew 1-1 on the weekend against Go Ahead Eagles. The match before that, they won 5-0 at home against Fortuna Sittard. But the game before that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they lost against NAC Breda, or at least in match day 2, they lost against NAC Breda. So, and then if you look, they struggled against Vojvodina in the qualifiers. They really struggled against Panathinaikos, lost at home, even had to go to penalties to go through. And I mean, I'm sorry, but if we cannot even get the level as Panathinaikos, then there's something wrong. Like, Panathinaikos are not a team with better players than us. I watched them play a few times last season. I watched them play against Ajax, and that is not a particularly impressive side. We watched PAOK against Galatasaray this week. If you watched it, I don't know if you did. PAOK was okay. but Galatasaray quite handily and deservedly beat them, and those are the Greek champions. We should be able to do much better than Panathinaikos. We shouldn't be getting slapped around by this Ajax. But the main reason we got slapped around is because we weren't playing our own game. We weren't ourselves. We completely and utterly just capitulated. We gave Ajax, or rather Gio, I think, gave Ajax way too much respect. Way too much respect. And obviously you have to respect your opponents, but there's respecting your opponents, and then there's giving way too much respect and playing like a scared little mouse. And that's what Gio did. He played bitch football, and we shouldn't be playing that ever. Especially not in the Europa League. There's not a single team in the Europa League that you can say that you have to play that way against. Like that, then you're just not like your mind as your mindset as a coach isn't in the right place. Like, you aren't coaching Vojvodina, you aren't coaching some mid-table Bulgarian side. You're coaching Beşiktaş. And I'm not gonna go as far as some people on Twitter who are like, oh, Beşiktaş is a much bigger club than Ajax. No, of course not. Ajax is a massive, massive club. They won 4 Champions Leagues. They are bigger than any Turkish club, even the Turkish clubs combined in terms of international status and success. Being a big club alone isn't having a lot of fans, because obviously then Turkey, every major Turkish club is quote unquote bigger because we have more fans. But that's just because we're a much bigger country, and in our country, 70% of football fans support one of the big 3. That's just, that's why that is, but that doesn't make us a bigger club. We have to have respect for what Ajax is as an institution, but this Ajax side, this team, and I don't want to, like one of our friends Sali said, like, this is the same as losing 4-0 to Kasim Pasha. No, that's absolute complete and utter.
Yeah, shut the fuck up with that.
That's complete and utter dog shit. This is still Ajax. It's still the best or top 3 academy in the world in terms of producing talent. Like, all these kids that are playing for them are good. The problem is that they are in a different stage still in their development of their team. They just got rid of, over the last 2 years, they got rid of a lot of important players like Daley Blind, like Dusan Tadic, and other guys like that, leader figures, and they didn't replace those players yet. And like, these new guys are coming up, they need time. So this Ajax was beatable. We at the very least should have gotten a point against this Ajax, I think. If we play our game and we go out from our own strengths, you can lose, don't get me wrong, it's possible. And if you lose, but you played your own game and you just, do what you always do, that's fine. If you get beat because of that, that's fine. But if you go there, you play complete opposite of what you usually play, you play like a little bitch, and then you lose, and you lose 4-0, yeah, then you're gonna get shit on, and you deserve to get shit on. And Giovanni van Bronckhorst, I'm not saying he should get fired, because that's absolutely ridiculous. I think people who are calling for his head right now are stupid and are overly emotional. It's absurd. But, of course, he deserves to get criticized, because he shat the bed yesterday. But not just him, though, because...
Yeah, a number of guys. Mert Günok, like, what happened to that dude, man?
It was a collective off day. Like, almost everyone, not everyone, but like from the starting 11, I think at least 7 guys performed way under their level. Like, the only guys who were acceptable, I think, were Rafa, Jetson Musrati from the midfield and all that. Those guys were acceptable. I'm not saying they were good. I think Paulista was on the edge of being good. Udukai was also kind of okay. But then Mert was bad, Svensson played his worst game in service of Beşiktaş, Rasicka was terrible, Mustafa obviously wasn't very good, Onana, well, Onana, he shouldn't be starting games, especially not a game like this. I'm not gonna say he was terrible. I think for what he can do as a footballer, he played okay-ish, but I think in the grand scheme of things, he was bad. And then Masuaku. 3rd European game of the season for him. 2nd time, he's absolute and utter trash. He was so bad. Was it on the fourth or the third goal? I don't even remember. I think it was on the fourth goal where the guy on his wing, I don't even...
Hello?
He just walked past him!
Hello?
Yeah?
Oh, thank you. Great, thank you. Send him up.
Ah, okay. Sinan is talking to somebody on a delivery guy, I think.
But like, who?
Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. I thought you were talking
but
to
we
me.
have
I was like,
Mamo
what?
at left back. You know, who do we play instead of Masuaku? Ultimately.
Yeah, we will find out on Monday, right? Because he's suspended.
Yeah.
For
Here, I'll be right back, guys. I'm gonna
the
take care of
Kayseri-
that.
Yeah, that's fine, Sinan. He's suspended for the Kayseri game, so we'll find out on Monday. And the problem, of course, is that in our squad we don't really have a proper alternative for Masuaku, because our only alternatives right now are Emrecan Terzi and Emirhan Topçu, and both of them are, especially Emirhan is a central defender, so like his offensive contribution is quite mild. Emrecan, we saw him in action multiple times last season, and you know, I thought he was better than Umut Meraş, but his offensive contribution is quite minimal. And of course, over the last 2 months or whatever, or however long we've been playing already official games, Masuaku has been an important part of our attacking organization and attacking play. So can Emrecan fill in that role? I think we'll have to find a different way to play on Monday. We're obviously going to be much less able to rely on our left back to give attacking impulses. But for the time being, and that's also why I think every one of us was so insistent that we needed another left back during this window that just closed, because now we have to wait until January to bring in a good left back that can rival Masuaku. But we all knew going into the season now, when the window was closed, I think we all knew that we all know what type of player Masuaku is. He's a good football player on his day, but he switches off. And against Lugano in the away game, he was there but he wasn't. And yesterday, like, he was present, he was physically present, but he wasn't there with his head. When Sinan is back, I've got a joke, but maybe
He's back.
Oh, he's back. So
I'm back.
Sinan,
I'm back.
your wife, does she ever drag you to IKEA?
I'm very hard to drag, but I've been dragged to a number of places. But yeah,
So my
girlfriend,
I see where
you're going with this.
My wife sometimes, she's like, "Oh, we have to go to IKEA for this or for that," and as soon as I hear that, my eyes glaze over, and I'm like, "Oh, IKEA." But okay, fine, let's go. So then you're there. You know, she drags you to IKEA, and you're walking through IKEA, and you're there, but in your head you're somewhere else. You know what I mean?
In presence only,
Exactly.
right? You're there in presence only,
and
right?
That's how I felt, especially in the second half. Our team was playing, and Masuaku probably the full 90 minutes, because like they were there, but they weren't. You know, like especially Masuaku, like on that fourth goal is perfectly encapsulates what I'm trying to say now. Just the way he's there, he's like kind of going into the duel, but not really, holds back. The guy just breezes past him like he's not standing there, and then just, you know, puts the ball ready for the fourth goal. And it wasn't just Masuaku, right? Like, it's like on the second goal and on the third goal, it was almost identical. I don't know what they were doing in the center of the defense there. Like, I think Svensson was like bumping into someone else in the middle. They were both going for the same ball. And it felt like in the second half, as soon as we came out of the dressing room, defensively, they were only looking at the ball, but everyone just lost complete track of where their direct opponents was. They were only looking at the ball, and the second goal was ridiculous. It was so amateuristic and easy to concede. Like there's nothing you can say like redeeming. For this game, it's very difficult to take anything positive away from this game. I don't think there is. Maybe the only positive to take away from the game was Chiro came on in the second half and he looked fired up, and he actually, you know, like he's got good energy, but I don't know what else. Do you guys have any positive takeaways from this match?
I got one. I got one.
I have.
Go ahead, Sina. Let's say go first, and then you can say yes.
So first of all, we almost held a 0-0 draw till the half, and I was thinking, I was like, first I was like, sort of like, how are we gonna, manage this match? It doesn't look like we're doing anything. But then I thought, okay, look, go back 3 months, and if you told me that we were going to be going into the half 0-0, and of course we didn't in the end because they scored right before the half, but whatever. But if you told me 3 months ago that we'd be going into the halftime in Europe against Ajax at 0-0, I would have taken that, was what I told myself. And then of course they scored like 2 minutes later, and then scored like 3 goals right as the second half started, and that whole thing shattered. No, I have another positive takeaway, which is that we're still a good team as far as everything that we were prior to this match. We're not going to play like this against Kayserispor or hopefully anyone ever again. But again, it's a lesson learned. It's one match, and I think we still have to take the it wasn't our side that we normally put out there that lost, right? Our tactic, what we've been doing, isn't what failed us. It was something else, and I think we can definitely say we shouldn't have done whatever that was. But I still think that, when we think of how we've been playing and what, how we set ourselves out to play for the most part, that's not it. And I don't think we have to, we certainly should not expect anything like that again. And again, he didn't even play like that against Galatasaray, right?
Yeah.
We've seen how he plays in the derbies. It's not like that. And if anything, he's not going to pull that shit now. You'd think, having seen what he's seen, or you hope, right? And I have no reason to think he's not going to have learned something from this, right? Giovanni van Bronckhorst he's not like a rookie, right? He's been around the block. So yeah, that's my positive spin on this, is that, I don't think this necessarily reflects on who we are or how we're going to be playing going forward.
Yeah, so what was your positive takeaway from the match other than it ended?
No, I wasn't actually going to say that, but that's a good point. My point is similar to Sinan's in the sense that we got an exact lesson into what not to do.
Yeah.
And for the viewers out here, I started university this week, and we had a course on how to learn. And one of the things that the professor, he's not a professor, but the coach there taught us was you learn from your mistakes. Mm-hmm, and I think that's what we have to do as well. We can learn from this. We have 7 games now. Mm-hmm. That's a great thing. We don't have to play Ajax again. We have 7 games now where we can learn from this game and then use those lessons in those other games. I think that's a positive I can take.
It was supposed to be our revenge campaign. Do you remember that? It was supposed to be our...
I didn't say that stuff.
No,
that
you didn't.
You guys.
But a lot of Beşiktaş fans online were saying this was supposed to be our revenge campaign. We got revenge on Lugano. Time to get revenge on Ajax. Revenge on Malmö. Revenge on who else is it? Lyon. Like, I agree with all what you're saying, and I think you're making a great point. Look. Losing is part of football. If you can't take losing, then you need to stop watching sports. Like, if you can't, you shouldn't do sports if you can't. Well, I mean, it's good that you can't really take losing as an athlete because that will make you strive to be better. But as a fan, you have zero control over what happens. So you need to be able to take a loss. But I think there's a difference between losing, which is obviously part of the game, and getting humiliated. And I think yesterday we got humiliated. Obviously that's worse for those of you who are in the Netherlands. Like a lot of our friends are. They're Dutch. They have a lot of friends who are Ajax fans. They work with co-workers who are Ajax fans. And for those people, it's extra shit, Like for me back in the day when we lost against Brugge, it was bad as well. Bad. I mean, you get laughed at a little bit. People take the piss. That's part of it. But what we need to do now, and the most important thing, and that is something we cannot comment on right now because obviously we'll have to wait and see. Monday we're playing again against Kayseri. and this team needs to show a reaction. And they need to win. There's no excuse. There's no other option. Winning is the only option. They need to defeat Kayserispor on Monday, preferably with good football and a couple of goal difference. And it would be good to get Ciro to score. It would be good to get Rafa to score. You know, get Semi to score a goal. On Monday, it's very important that Gio goes with the right team. There's a possibility Musrati doesn't play because he got subbed off yesterday due to an injury. So there's a possibility that maybe he won't play on Monday. He cannot, under any circumstances, put Onana in the team, in the starting 11. Fans will go crazy. Like, the only way that could be positive is if we win convincingly and Onana plays a ridiculously good game. But the chances of that aren't very high. So he needs to start with the right 11. I think Semi needs to start. Ciro obviously needs to start. Rafa needs to start. And then if Musrati can't play, then I think he needs to go with either Nduro or Joao Mario. And yeah, I think it's extremely important that we win on Monday. And that will be the first step to healing and to gaining a lot of fans' trust again. Because I think everyone had a lot of faith in Giovanni. Everyone had a lot of trust in Giovanni. I think all of us did. I think he hurt and lost some of that yesterday. And he needs to win that back now. And that the first step is beating Kayseri. And the second step is not getting embarrassed on Thursday against Frankfurt. I'm not even saying that we have to beat them. We don't even have to beat them. Because I talked to Kevin Hatchard earlier today to preview, or rather to talk about the Eintracht Frankfurt team. And they're a really good side. If you want to go to patreon.com/Beşiktaş podcast, you can already watch my interview with Kevin Hatchard about Eintracht Frankfurt now, or after this. You can already go and watch it if you're a Patreon member for just $1.99 a month. You can try it for free for 7 days. You can already go and watch it now. Otherwise, you have to wait until Monday. It'll be live at 7 o'clock Central European time. So you can watch the full episode on Monday. It's roughly 16 minutes of me and Kevin talking about Eintracht Frankfurt. But Frankfurt is a really good team as well, I think. And I would wager currently a better team than Ajax. With informed strikers. They made a great start in the Bundesliga. 9 points out of a potential 12. They lost on the opening match day against Dortmund, but that wasn't so clear cut and dry because they could have won that game. And yeah, they yesterday drew 3-3 against Viktoria Pilsen after being 3-1 up. So they gave away a 2-goal lead at home. So there's definitely, you can hurt them for sure. We can beat them if we play a good game, but we can't beat them if we play like yesterday. So Van Bronckhorst needs to make sure we beat Kayseri on Monday, and then his plan for Thursday needs to be correct. No tame ass bitch football. Get a good result against Frankfurt, and then you have to go away again, and you have to beat Gaziantep. That's the only option that he has. He needs to get at least 6 points in the league, and probably, a point or 3 points against Frankfurt. He has no other option. He needs to win the confidence of the fans back, because if these coming 10 days are super crucial now for Van Bronckhorst and for the team. Because if we drop points against Kayseri and Antep, we lose against Frankfurt or whatever, our season is already over and it's not even November.
Yeah, and the thing is, I do agree with that completely, Khan. And also the thing is, right, if we play like we usually do with Al-Musrati, Getson as a 6 and an 8, and we have Rafa in behind the striker, and we lose 4-0, I would be less upset about that than what happened yesterday. Because at least then we would be sticking to our guns and we would be trying.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't embarrass ourselves doubly by being cowardly losers instead of just losers.
You know, it really, like, somebody I know, he actually commented on the game yesterday. He commented on the game for Belgian television, and you know, in the week before the game, he was asking me lots of questions, you know, things he can say, like little tidbits and stuff. Good, you know, when you're commenting on the game, you like to have some stories about the team and all that kind of stuff. So I was telling him all this kind of things about the season, and now things have been looking really positive already. And I find it really difficult. And yesterday, how do you explain that to someone, that this is not what we usually play
Not
like?
who we are.
Yeah, it's like we had a different face on or something. Like, it's very hard to take when you get beat and it's not even on your own merit, it feels like. Like, why did we change who we were? You know, it's like going on a date and completely changing your character. Like, you know, let's say normally you're a really nice guy and you're funny, you're witty, you're charming, and your friend sets you up on a blind date with a girl. And you show up to the date and you act like a complete and utter jackass. You eat with your hands, I don't know. But you act like a completely different person. And then the girl, your friend who set you up with this date with this girl, is going to have to explain to that girl, yeah, but that's not what he's usually like. That's, you know, that's how I feel right now. Like, I set someone up on a date with my team. Oh, you're gonna like it, we play good football. And then you play like this?
They're like, but. Yeah. I mean, I don't even want to think about it too much, because, like, really, like, you've got these camps of people who are already, you know, hitting the panic button, you know, full on, like, you know, they've already hit the eject seat. They're already in their parachute, basically. Even though, like, the war hasn't even started yet, you know, like, we're barely even into the season. And I guess that's one point I might object to, Con, is that I don't even know that the season would be over yet. I mean, I guess it's true. I don't think we can rely on Galatasaray dropping too many points, but
did I mention?
I don't know, you know, ultimately, like, we've really got to, in every way, put this behind us. And I mean, especially our coach, tactically, right? Like, he needs to take that plan, crumple it up, never even give it the light of day.
Throw it in a trash can, put some oil,
lighter fluid
on it, throw a match on it, and then go and bury the ashes in the Sahara Desert. And never again, exactly. And did I mention this, by the way, already? Like, the next 5 games in the league, Galatasaray are playing 4 at home, so the chances of them dropping points in the next couple of games is not very high. So we cannot afford to slip up. We've got 2 away games now, Kayseri and Gaziantep. Those are not the strongest teams in the league, but traditionally we tend to struggle against both these teams. I don't think we've ever beaten Gaziantep. Like this form of Gaziantep, you know, this new Gaziantep Football Club. But this is obviously not Gaziantep Spor. But I don't think we've ever beaten them away.
FK.
Yeah, and Kayseri for us is traditionally pretty difficult as well. So I was already kind of nervous before the game. You know, one of our regulars in the WhatsApp community was saying, "Oh, I'm actually nervous for the Kayseri game now." I was already nervous for the Kayseri game before yesterday. Like, in my mind, we were gonna play a decent game in Ajax. We were probably gonna get like a point or something, maybe 3 if we played really well. I wasn't really worried about Ajax yesterday. I was worried about Monday against Kayseri.
That's funny. Yeah. I honestly didn't think we were going to even necessarily win in Ajax. I thought it could be tough. But that's also because I wasn't aware of how dark things had gotten for them. Although maybe things are getting brighter today.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Yasin?
Quick fact check. We did beat Gaziantep last season.
Oh, we did? Okay.
2-0.
Okay. Alright. We did beat them, but we lost against them a lot though away. I saw a statistic the other day about...
Yeah, that was a home game. That 2-0 win last season.
Oh.
Yeah, on the road in Gaziantep it's always
But have we won
tougher.
But have we won away? Because I was talking about away games, eh?
Oh, I would have to check that.
Yeah, because I saw a statistic that we basically lost every game in Antep in recent years. And they've only really been part of the league for a few years anyway, because obviously it's not the same club as Gaziantepspor. But I mean, look, these are traditionally difficult games, but there's no excuse. You need to take 6 points, and yeah, and they're sandwiched by a really difficult game against Frankfurt. And at the end of the day, look, maybe I've already got some Galatasaray friends who are saying, oh, the best thing that ever happened to us was you guys beating us 5-0. It's the best thing that ever happened to us. Like, not serious, but like serious in a way of it was actually a good thing for them because it got things moving. They started making transfers, we maybe some panic buys and stuff like that, but it got stuff moving. And maybe for us, losing yesterday is a wake-up call that we perhaps needed. Maybe Gio needed, maybe the team needed, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it's not even a wake-up call. Maybe it's just a realization moment for Gio to stick to his guns, to not doubt his plan A, to stick with with the philosophy he's been putting and drilling into this team since day one, and to stick with that and not to suddenly throw things all over and flip things over on their back and turn things around and do the polar opposite of what you've been essentially trying to install in this team for 2-3 months now. Because I think we're all happy with the football that we've been playing for the most part. Yes, we've struggled a little bit. Again, Sivasspor was difficult. Eyüpspor was difficult. Losing points in Trabzon we weren't happy about that. It felt like a defeat. But at the end of the day, if you look at the teams we've played already in the league, like we've played almost all top 10 teams. We talked about that on Monday. Other than Trabzonspor, all our opponents that we faced in the first 5 games are top 10 teams. If you look at Galatasaray, except for Fener and Konya, they played 6 games. 4 out of the 6 games they played were against the bottom of the league. Number 19, 18, 17, and 15, I think. So there's a difference there. But that doesn't mean that we're just going to get a guaranteed win against those lower ranked teams as well. Like, we have to go and beat Kayseri. There's no excuse. The only way forward now, the only way to rebound from this is by doing what the word says, and that's rebounding. And it's the only way to rebound from a defeat is by winning. So Monday, have to win. Thursday, you have to get a positive result. And then you have to beat Gaziantep after that as well. Do we do you want to look at the stats before maybe we start with the comments, or do you guys have anything to add to my long ass rant?
I think we've flogged this one to death.
Something I want to say.
Crap.
Something I want to.
Yeah, go ahead, Yasin.
I think something I want to say is that I don't think we should be demanding the league this season. I know it's a possibility. We are always in the charge. But I think a lot of people, for example, I posted the show on Reddit. Hello to everyone on Reddit who came here and was watching us now. And someone said, don't be negative. It's a transition year. And I kind of agree with that sentiment. I think we need to treat this as I think we need to treat this Hasan Arat GVB combo as at least 2-year project.
We don't have to win the league. Nobody is saying that. However, with this,
I've heard some people.
It's about what we're saying. It doesn't matter what people out on the internet are saying.
I get that.
This show is our opinions, not the internet's opinions. So I don't think any of us, not me, not Sinan, not Kartal, not you, Yasin, I don't think any of us are saying you have to win the league this season. No, you don't have to win the league. But you can't bail out in November. You have to stay in that title race until April, preferably. May, if possible. That would be great. There's an opportunity there. Fener aren't great. We've seen that. They already lost once, drew once. Galatasaray have won everything in the league. But we've seen that they are also beatable. We completely demolished them in the Super Cup. So last season we had 0 chances. All those derbies, we were out, you know, against Fenerbahce twice outclassed, against Galatasaray not outclassed, but we couldn't do anything, and they scored, we couldn't do anything. This season we have a chance to beat them. That doesn't mean you have a chance to win the league, because the chances of us dropping points in smaller games is bigger than them, unfortunately. We don't have the squad depth yet and all that. That's what I was talking about earlier. We still have a couple of transfer seasons to build a proper squad. We have a decent starting 11 now with a couple of really good players, but we still have plenty of deficiencies. And I think if you line up our 11 against Galatasaray and Fenerbahce's 11, we can compete with them. But if you line up our 18-man squad or whatever against theirs, there's a bigger discrepancy there, and then we lose a little bit of sight. As for being negative, if some people are saying no, don't be negative, look, you can't put your head in the ground. You don't have to be overly negative. Like people who are calling for Gio's head right now, those people are overly negative. They're silly. They're not realistic. They're living in a fantasy world. But at the same time, if you're going to act like somebody took a shit in your living room, you're standing there and you're acting like it doesn't smell like shit in your living room. Like, there's shit in your living room, dude. You have to clean that up, throw it out. So Giovanni van Bronckhorst needs to pick up the shit, throw it out, and that shit was yesterday's tactics. He needs to throw that out, and he needs to stick to his guns, because he has a beautiful living room with a beautiful floor. He needs to keep it clean, and if he keeps it clean, you know, maybe we can go all the way, maybe we don't, but at least we'll give them a run for their money. That's all we can ask for this season, that we give them, the Yellows, a run for their money this season, because we didn't last season. So let's give them a run for their money this season. Let's try not to embarrass ourselves every week in Europe, because losing 4-0 like this, then you're better off sending out your under-19s a la Yellow number 2. Because what's the point? If you're just gonna do like yesterday, then don't even show up. Shall we get to the statistics, guys?
Let's do it.
Yes.
So, interestingly, we did have more of the ball, and again complete more passes at a higher efficiency than our opponent.
I think that was mostly in the second half that we.
Yeah, and it's a little surprising, but I guess it's not too surprising that we had
the opposite.
It's not too surprising that we had possession, given that we were behind for much of this game and chasing it. So it's, you know, it is what it is. We should have had far more possession, you know, if we were playing the way we normally would, especially given that fact. So yeah, we only had 53% of the ball to their 47. They had an XG of 2.12 to our 0.35. They had 17 shots. We had 6. I'm surprised we even had 6. Yeah. They had 9 on target to our 0. 6 big chances to our 0. 3 big chances missed to our 0. Again, we had 437 passes completed to their 379. Also, we were chasing the game for much of it. So, I mean, that's about where we are, and I think that's like those are decent numbers as far as passing. But, you know, we got to be creating more, obviously. And we were playing not to, essentially, as we've discussed a few times. They completed 379 at an 85% rate. They committed 11 fouls to our 9. At least we had a professional referee this time, we could argue. We can't blame the refs for yesterday.
No, we definitely can't.
They were offsides once to our twice. We had 6 corners to their 4. But I guess that, again, right, we're chasing the game. We had more of the ball. And still, we had no shots on target. So, hardly impressive stuff. Duels, Yasin, do you want to do it?
Yes. We won one more duel than they did, so we had a 51% duel win ratio to their 49%. But they did beat us in terms of ground duels. 36 ground duels they won, and we won 30. So a 55% share for them, 45 for us. In terms of aerial duels, that's where we shone with 9 aerial duels won compared to their 2s. but they did complete more successful dribbles, 10 to our 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in terms of cards, it was level. Both teams saw 2 yellow cards. I do want to put that out there. I actually thought the referee was excellent yesterday. I really loved how he allowed steals, and not like in Turkey it feels like if you steal the ball like 7 out of 10 times they call a foul. I really thought the referee was really good yesterday, and he played absolutely no part in the end result. He had no impact on it whatsoever. So that's how you want it. You don't want the referee to be in the spotlight. He had a good game. Ref was great. I do think, one thing that stands out to me from these statistics, it's the ground duels. So like Yasin said, we won only 45%. And, the logic behind starting with Onana in midfield is to bolster your midfield. So you win more balls. I don't have the individual statistics up for Onana here, but he had extremely low stats. I think he had like 0 out of 0 duels won, because he was almost never in a duel. He had really low stats in that regard. He had high passing accuracy, but he had very little defensive contribution at all. I think the idea behind starting Onana was to win the midfield battle, to have a stronger midfield. And in practice, that looks logical. Playing with 2 6s, you would logically expect then that you are stronger in midfield, probably. You will win more balls, you will win more duels there. But the opposite was true. And I think especially second half, we probably skewed those numbers a little bit, especially the possession numbers. But in the first half, watching in the first half, there were like significant portions of the half where I thought like, oh, the possession must be like 80% to Ajax, 20% to us or something, because it felt like they had the ball the entire half. And so I don't even think we can take those stats too seriously, especially not the possession stats. I think yesterday was a terrible game on all fronts. What Gio tried completely blew up in his face, did not work whatsoever. And the only thing we can say is, Gio, please learn from this mistake. We are 100% behind you, but you need to learn from this. And you need to win on Monday. You need to beat Kayserispor. Not to keep your job or anything like that, just because we need to win on Monday. We can't tap out. We need to stay in this. We're only 2 points behind right now if we win our games. So keep going, keep at it. And hopefully in a few weeks after the international break, when we play away against Galatasaray after our home game against Konyaspor, hopefully then Gio will play like Beşiktaş, not like El-Azhar.
And I'll add that I think beyond that, I think Giovanni van Bronckhorst has given us every reason to believe that he can have learned from it. I don't think anyone should be too negative and too doubtful. Everyone makes mistakes, man, right? He went out there, he had a game plan, he thought something was going to happen a certain way. I think Farioli's a little too clever to sort of like have a rigid game plan. You need to be sort of like, you saw Farioli kind of reacting to what was happening in the match. I don't think Giovanni van Bronckhorst did that to the same extent. It's fine, like everyone manages games differently, right? But this was a bad matchup in that sense. I think you have a team full of 19 to 21-year-olds, right? With the exception of obviously their goalkeeper, Jordan Henderson, and Bertrand Traore.
Yeah.
And so we should have taken it to them. We shouldn't have let them build confidence, right? We should have, been the more experienced senior team.
Yeah.
So we kind of gave them, and frankly, like you saw how much young talent they have. It could come together like that for them a few times this season. I wouldn't be surprised if we're not the only team that this happens with, and then it could fall apart because they're so young. So that's the trials and tribulations of playing with so many young players, and we just caught them on one of those days too, to some extent. Again, I want to, like we said, burn it, take the ashes, spread them, into the depths of hell. Let's move on.
Yeah, exactly. But like you said, only way to move on is now by going and we need to be able to forget this game. This game should not become a reference point, other than if in a positive way. Sure, like Gio learned from that. After that, we were great. That's fine. But I just hope that in 3 months, we're not referring to this game as, oh, that's where everything, like, the train derailed. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we have to hope for, and the only way by doing that is winning. Shall we get to the comments, Sinan?
Yeah, let's do it. We got a lot. So, Karakartal 11. I've figured out what his little abbreviation there is for. Teams have bad days, and yesterday, until the first goal, a clear mistake. Beşiktaş was in control. No need to overreact. This is normal. No team goes unbeaten. Very, very rare. Just be patient in sport. I agree with the bulk of that. I don't know if we were in control, but I do feel like, yeah, we could have. If we could have held out till the half, maybe we could have reacted. I mean, I still think we would need to react a little more. Maybe take Onana out, play Sammy on the wing, put Rafa in the middle, push Gedson back, etc. There's some other moves we could have made to kind of like take this game by the scruff of its neck after the first half. But I think, okay, it was what it was. GVB, so this is Uzcan Uğur. GVB has been in a constant search for Plan B since Lugano away, apart from the Lugano home game, but it is just not working for him. And again, in part, that's because of who we have, right, as our depth option. Yeah. We're not there yet.
I don't think he has a lot of alternatives necessarily. Somebody mentioned yesterday that signing Ndour, either you have to play him in situations like yesterday, or you shouldn't have gotten him and you should have gotten the winger. And unfortunately, I think Ndour is a good player and I prefer him over Onana, but I think in hindsight, we definitely should have loaned out Onana. Gio wanted to keep him, but I think that was a mistake. We should have loaned him out or sold him. There were apparently plenty of interested parties to either buy him or loan him, and we should have gotten that winger instead, or an alternative left back. I think that was a mistake keeping Onana. One thing before you continue, Sinan, I just want to pose the question to people listening right now, and please drop it in the live chat, or if you're watching on delay, drop it in the comments. Do you agree with Giovanni van Bronckhorst's decision to yoink Rafa Silva on the hour mark when it was 3-0? Do you think that was the right decision to take Rafa off and save him for Monday? Let me know, please. I'm very curious because I feel like I'm in the minority, but I agreed with that decision. I thought it was the right call.
Yeah, I mean, I even kind of wish we could have just let Cheeto rest for the whole match, but obviously with how Mustafa was playing,
I was even thinking like he should take Cheeto off again. Like it's 3-0. What's the point?
If he wouldn't be offended by it.
Yeah, I agree with Rafa being taken off because you need to rest him for Kayseri and stuff.
Yeah, he needs to rest at some point, right? Yeah. Anyway. Where are we? Sort of. It takes time to develop. This is Karakata. He's still only 4 months into his job. Is he even 4 months in? Yeah, I mean, a team takes a lot longer than 4 months to be legit. I think that's totally fair, especially given squad construction and the sort of depth that we lack.
3 months.
And for the most part, he's done quite well. So again, we can't be too negative about it.
This is his first big mistake. We're 9 games into the season.
That's all it is.
Yeah, we're 9 games into the season. This is his first big mistake. I mean, at the end of the day, we need to put that into perspective. This is also just the first time we lose this season. To put that into perspective, Galatasaray have lost 3 times already this season. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, worth noting. Then he goes on, Karakata 11 says, Rashida as striker, he's the best along with Cheeto as a finisher. I don't know about that one.
I don't think he's a good finisher.
Anyway. Like maybe Mucci. That was one interesting thought that I saw, was going around Twitter. But I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
Mucci actually started his career as a striker, so perhaps, Gio should maybe start considering him as a backup striker.
It'll be worth a look at some point. Anyway, Özcan, Onana and Musrati being a pair and a double pivot along with Rafa being pushed to the wing again was the biggest issue. When Gedson is next to Musrati, he compensates for him being slower. Yeah, we've basically addressed that.
I thought Musrati was actually good yesterday, by the way. He won a lot of balls.
Musrati?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. He was one of few. He, Gedson, I would say Felix Udokai. I think there were a couple guys who didn't play a 4-0 loss type of game, but whatever. They lost nonetheless. And then Kargal does I agree with Özcan for yesterday's team. They were too conservative. And Rafa is much more comfortable in the center, it seems, no doubt. Sunshine Man, much like Sinan, I too am not against Mustafa finding playing time, but he has to be seasoned during the Super League games. We must also not neglect the reality of revenue from this tournament. True, yeah, we need some results.
Yeah. I mean, a win is like
Carter,
$500,000 almost or something, so...
Yeah, exactly. No, it's... got to do better than that. Carter says, rest him, don't risk injury. He's our star hope, for sure. I agree with you. That must be about Rafa.
Mm-hmm.
Onana, however, is just... this is Ozcan. Onana, however, is just as slow as Musrati, so we got outrun in the midfield. We also saw Masuaku struggle again with Rafa in front of him, just like Lugano away.
But do you really think that's because of Rafa playing in front of him, or do you just like even when he look on the fourth goal, you can't say that's because the winger in front of him was like he was just not playing well. Like the guy walked past him. Like, I
mean, it's also, again, we got to give credit to this Rasmussen kid who came on and really he had him figured out, he had him in stitches. Like
but it feels like when Masuaku is having one of those days like yesterday and like Lugano away, it feels like it doesn't matter who's playing against him. Like he doesn't put anything like. Yeah. Masuaku is a kind of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation. I feel like. One game.
As I said, as we both said, Con, at the beginning of the season, he needs competition for his spot, right? He needs to be held to a higher standard. Whatever. Anyway, I mean, a lot of this is repeating kind of what we've already said. Like, Gio should have stuck to our plan A this game, but he showed historically weak Ajax too much respect. Yeah, and we've covered that so thoroughly. He may have a trauma. He may have a trauma playing Ajax away. This is his third consecutive 4-0 loss to them in Amsterdam. This does not make it acceptable, though. I mean, clearly he does overestimate them, and that could be a factor.
You know what? I think that is not even. I think that's probably that's definitely in the back of his mind. It probably nags at him a little bit because, like, what other explanation can you give to a Dutch coach who should really have his finger on the pulse on Dutch football? And everyone in Holland knows right now, Ajax are not Ajax from 2019. This is a very beatable side. Like, if we would have played PSV yesterday and got battered 4-0, the way they've been playing under Bos, sure, okay, that can happen. But again, this Ajax, but also showing this much respect for this Ajax too much, and being this timid against them, like, the only explanation can be that, Gio in the back of his head is a little bit afraid of Ajax.
Yeah.
Also think this is not a good thing for Gio, by the way, if he ever wants to get like the Dutch national team job or something like that. Like, this is, like, it doesn't matter.
It'll be like the full Ajax side.
Like, he can now go on and win the league with us. He can win the Europa League. I think in the Netherlands they will look at this match still.
Yeah, sorry. Figuring out this like pickup situation. Okay. Anyway, continuing. Lots of like. Oh, I just lost my spot in the chat. God damn it. Okay. What? How did that happen? It went to the bottom automatically. That's so annoying. Okay. Onana, we did that. Gio should have just stuck to our plan A. He may have a trauma. Blah blah. Okay. Kyle Cartel. Speaking of Farioli, he was surprisingly more impressive than I expected. Yeah, I agree. Ozcan, we need to bounce back on Monday, or this season could be. We said that. Kyle Cartel. Every game is its own story. If Mert didn't blunder, we could have easily held the draw and perhaps scored eventually.
Yeah. But then at the same time, they were already they stuck their nose at the window a few times already at that point.
Yeah, we were sitting back way too much.
We were exactly, Sinan. I think we were overdoing it. We needed more bites in our game. We were too timid.
Yeah. And then Cartel starts to worry about our tone, and it's true, we might have gotten a little dark there, But, it was a dark day. But we should move on. You're right about that, sir. I don't think this game will reflect on future games. Come on, guys. We can't panic after one game out of 60. Every game has its own narrative. This was one game in the long marathon. This expectation is only after 4 months in charge. It's still impressive. What's important is how engaged the players and coaches are, and luckily this is a good group, and they need more repetition and more support. My bad if I'm taking over the chat too much. I just like this level of dialogue, breath of fresh air. You're welcome, Car Cartel, to do that. We love all comments.
Yeah, keep it coming. Exactly.
And then just to continue, because he's still going with it. If this Ajax team in a few years, these players make big transfers, will change how you guys view how well they were yesterday. Sorry, I should be fixing that. Anyway, yesterday, like Sinan said, when it rained, it poured. Playing like a bitch, it's all relative. Holding 0-0 on a away game of newly formatted competition is a decent strategy, and harsher we are for criticizing new attempts by coach. How can they improve? Well, okay, look. He tried something new, but it didn't work, and we have to be realistic about that, I would say. I do think that Ajax probably will have... A lot of these guys will probably develop into good players. It's interesting that they're playing so many young guys, and they clearly have a lot of talent, and certainly if they can play a lot of opponents who give them the amount of respect that we did, they'll probably have very lovely careers. But
actually, Sinan, you know what? I just came up with another thing that I think is a positive to take away from yesterday. I'd much rather have Giovanni make this mistake against Ajax than do this in the derby. Can you imagine this?
Yeah.
Can you imagine this happened in a few weeks in the derby and we get beat 4-0 or 5-0 or whatever? Like, we need to be able to laugh at them with 5 for years to come. We can't just give that up straight away, like that privilege, So that's a positive.
Let him do that with his boogeyman.
Let's hope he learned his lesson from yesterday and that he won't repeat it. And I'd much rather have it happen in Europe against Ajax or Frankfurt or Athletic Club. I'd much rather have it happen against a big European side than in a derby.
Yeah,
if it had to happen,
then
I'd rather have it happen yesterday.
Yeah. Then I think Emirhan, we're talking about who's going to play left back without Masuaku this Monday. He said Emirhan Topçu, I think. He's decent, he has good long ball, and his youth gives him enthusiastic work rate. I still want to see our Kazaki dream. Get a spot out there, but whatever. It is what it is. He says we should have signed Robert Skov on a free transfer. I don't know who that is, I'll be honest. Robert Skov would have been the perfect fit, and he's excellent with taking free kicks and corners, much like Masuaku. Maybe. Mario Vargas. Yo, what up, Eagles? What's going on, Mario? Good to see you back. Carcartel says he's flying high, literally and figuratively. And I just want to say, Carcartel, as the resident English teacher here, now, when you say literally and figuratively, I'm assuming by literally you mean you're actually flying in an airplane right now? Because if you mean what I think you mean, that's actually also figurative. So that's figuratively and figuratively, because you're flying high as a Beşiktaş fan, which, I mean, I don't know if you should be. But then if you're flying high in that other sense, that's also figurative, because you're not literally flying, I assume. Again, unless maybe you're on an airplane, in which case I have a dirty mind in this case, which, happens often. Moving on. Few positives, more experience for Hekimolu. Yeah, we could definitely take that. I don't know if it's great experience. You don't want to deflate him.
But yesterday he was clearly nervous. I was on the phone with Sunshine Man earlier, and we were talking about a lot of stuff about the game yesterday, and he mentioned as well that he looked like he was a little bit flustered, maybe, by the situation, but maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe this experience is something, hopefully, it's something he'll learn from and learn how to cope with pressure, because that's also part of becoming a professional football player, especially when you're 17 years old like him. So let's hope that's a positive for Mustafa, that he can take good lessons from this.
Yeah. Yeah, and Karakar follows it up. More experience as a team under a belt, and reacting to losing reveals character, so it's a chance for the team to show their character. Yeah, absolutely. It's true. Just as the season could snowball out of control, it could also be a turning point in a positive sense, where we've gotten a little bit lackluster in recent weeks. This could be the kind of, give us the sense of urgency that we need to move forward.
So
yeah, let's hope for the best. Yeah, exactly. Knock on wood. All that good stuff. Anyway, Ujan says the biggest issue was maybe that GVB never even tried to change the way we were playing at halftime.
I think he did.
Yeah, you have no idea what they talked about, in the locker room.
We clearly, I mean, look, there's a reason why at the end of the game, our possession stat wasn't what it was in the first half.
Exactly.
I think the biggest issue was he only put on Ciro. I think he should have yoinked Onana. He should have put João Mario or Endur on at halftime. That's I don't think he didn't try to change anything, but just the worrying thing is that the team came out and looked even worse than in the first half. Yeah,
and you could even say that our reaction to going down 2-0 was really what turned this into a blowout, right? Because instead of we're gonna fight and get that goal back and kind of get back into this, the team sort of looked like they were ready to concede that third.
They dropped their heads
instead.
And
then the fourth was inevitable at that point. So I mean, it could easily, I think if it was 2-0, for example, if it ended 2-0 and they'd sort of decided to engage and sort of fight their way back into this match as best they could, and even if they hadn't succeeded, we still, I think, wouldn't be quite as negative. But seeing the way everyone got deflated and kind of let their head hang low, and that you never want to see, and that again, I don't know how much of that's on the coach, because how much yelling can you do from the sideline at that point, right? I mean, that's something you have to address, maybe looking at film. Addressing that in the locker room. In the build up to Monday, just say, guys, you can't. That's no way to react to going down 2-0, man.
Gio failed tactically and made wrong choices, but that doesn't excuse the majority of the players for playing the game they did. They were dreadful. This tactic, even though I don't agree with it, it can work. It could have worked, but the execution was terrible, and that's more on the players than on the coach. Of course, it's also on the coach, because you don't just change around your entire style of play for a game like this, but the players still could have done a much better job with it, and they didn't.
Yeah, exactly. It didn't have to be that bad.
No.
Yeah, there was, exactly. And it even, like we said, there's a few guys whose performance didn't merit a 4-0 loss either. So there's also a few guys who just really underperformed and seemed to really let their heads hang. And a lot of those guys, it's worth noting, like Masuaku and whatnot, they're maybe carrying that negative energy from these last couple seasons where he's experienced that with us.
Maybe.
We gotta dispel that. We gotta get rid of that. So
and I think even the guys that weren't bad, I think even they underperformed. Like Rafa, it's not like he did anything bad, and he had a couple of good moves, and he held on to he was difficult. He was the only problem they had in the first half, really, him and Jetson to a lesser extent, and those guys didn't play great either, right? It's not like they had a good game or anything. They also underperformed. Just to give you an idea, I think Rafa has not had a FODMOP score under 8 this entire season, and yesterday he had a 6.5. Just to give you an idea.
Yeah. That was, it was the worst performance for a number of guys.
Forever.
Sorry, I'm working all the channels now for what I have to go run and do soon.
Yeah. Oh, you need to go. You need to go real soon, don't you? So now.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up.
Yeah.
Let's get the comments, and then we can.
Biggest issue was we did that, but that's all relative situations. Never say never, and being adaptive is key to being successful long term. And this is how we develop our adapting capabilities. It's true. You try something, it doesn't work. You try something else, right? That's how it goes. Experimentation. Sunshine Man. I think we are all in a panic-induced frenzy right now. The fans in Turkey and the shallow-minded Turkish soccer gurus in Turkey have to leave the coach alone. Everyone makes mistakes. Agreed.
Yes.
Facts.
100%.
Someone, as Karakarto says, fact, Sunshine Man, and I think we all agree. We lose when we give up. 100%. Uzcan Oğur. in with a little disagreement. We didn't even play this bad 3 years ago versus a much stronger Ajax team with 13 players injured. We played 3 left backs due to... Okay, we got it, Özcan. I mean, nobody's happy.
It's a moment.
Don't dwell too much in it,
you
my
can't
guy.
compare those. Like, you can't compare.
Exactly. And again, this game just, sometimes a team collapses, when they get when the adversity is coming at them, and that's literally just what happened. It's not like we even collapsed like we have historically, right? Things have been worse for us. Let's not dwell too much on the result. Let's just move on.
We have had some worse scores than this.
Yeah, I don't even wanna put words to those ones, but you know what I'm talking about, folks. Sunshine Man, we should not cause the coach starting to pay to what we should not. Okay, I'll correct this one for you, Sunshine Man. We should not affect the coach and have him start paying attention to what we're all saying or what the Twitterazzi or whatever they're saying, and we got to let him continue to focus on his team. Yeah. Fully agree.
There's just one thing I would have liked him to...
I better not see... just real quick. We better not see any chants or any bullshit in the stands against him. I don't have time for that bullshit.
I don't think we will.
Yeah,
but the one thing I would have liked to see from him was more... I wanted him to take more responsibility. I would have wanted to see him say, I made a mistake, I made the wrong choices, this won't happen again, or something like that. I just would have loved to see something like that, because...
Con, did you see, actually, I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to correct that real quick, because I think it was that testicle guy, or no, Testy, who put out like a fuller quote of what Giovanni said, and it was a little bit more, like the one that was going around was like a kind of clipped version, and there was a longer, slightly more apologetic version that Gio said, so I think...
I didn't see it.
Some people were kind of running with, there was a lot of agenda work yesterday.
I didn't feel like sticking around in the broadcast and watching the interviews. Like, I just wanted to turn that stuff off. Like, unlike a lot of people, I never turn off a game. So I turn off the game once it's over. Like, even the 8-0 that you were referring to earlier, I watched that to the last dying second. I don't turn off games.
I didn't say it, Con. I didn't say it. I could have been talking about,
but once that full-time whistle goes and it's a game like that, I turn it off, man. Like, I can't be bothered sitting around for an hour waiting to hear what the coach has to say. I'll read it on the internet later.
Continuing. So we have Sunshine, and I have no concern about how we shall react to coach. I'm rather confident he is reminded and weapon smoke. He will not be seen repeating this flop. I like that enthusiasm. I like that positivity. I sure hope you're right. And I'm inclined to agree. Mario says, no Musrati. João Mario would be ideal, I'm thinking. Yep, he corrected it. And I agree. In fact, but I will still say that I want to see Semi Kilitsoy opposite João Mario as a right winger at least a couple times before we throw the idea into the bin. Yeah. Just because we haven't even seen it yet. But anyway.
But if Musrati doesn't play on Monday, then João Mario in midfield would be nice.
Yeah. Or maybe Shane looked pretty good in his brief appearance yesterday. Anyway. Cartel 11. Can't keep thinking about losing like that. We got to stay confident of the coach and players and their abilities. Guys throwing words like cowardly is the fine difference between constructively criticizing versus being keyboard warriors. What if players say, if you're more brave, come play and show us? I don't know quite what to make of that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Khan likes to use words like... I think Khan was just getting excited. He didn't mean to be overly critical.
No,
I think we can all agree that it was...
what I said. I think we played like a bitch.
But no, I mean, I think... like conservative. I'd say we played too conservatively. However you phrase it, it is what it is.
You can play conservatively and pragmatically, and you can play with way too much respect for your opponent, then completely forget who you are and lose your identity, and that's what we did yesterday, and that's playing like a bitch, and I stand by what I said. I think that criticism is fair. That doesn't mean I want Giovanni van Bronckhorst to resign. I know this team is capable of a lot more. I know he can get that out of his team, and I just want him to do so. He needs to stop playing like yesterday. He should never do that again, ever.
Yeah, okay. I thought you were gonna back down on that, but fair enough. Next up, Sunshine Man. Cartel, greetings to Ankara from the US. Is that Sunshine? That's from the US. Is that... okay? Okay, anyway. Oh yeah, of course, Sunshine, Mr. Chanel Gunesh, maybe. Anyway, what still hurts me is that...
It's Meriabi.
Oh, okay, okay. I thought maybe it was a Gunesh reference. But that's probably a Florida reference then. Okay, what still hurts me is that yesterday we played an opponent in a winnable game. Yeah, totally. Oh, by the way, if we're serious about making progress this year, we have to quickly forget about the 5-0 against Gladstone. I fully agreed. I strongly doubt that we could duplicate that feat today. Time to get serious. But not by self-mutilation. And then finally, Khan means that Onana is still not housebroken, and Gio needs to keep him off the living room to stop him from soiling the cupboard again and again. You know, the sad part is that I don't think Jean Onana was our worst player yesterday. He had that one terribly boneheaded pass.
Yeah, one really bad pass.
And was a bit clunky. He was a bit clunky at times.
Yeah, no,
But there were worse performers.
Yeah, there were worse. One thing that did stood out to me is that they didn't even bother him when he had the ball. Like, they just left. Like, it was like Tosic against Başakşehir back in the day, where they just let him. They gave him space, they gave him room. As soon as Musrati came on the ball, as soon as Jetson came on the ball, Rafa, whoever, like 3 guys on it straight away, like flies to shit. But with Onana, he got time and space. So I think the way he played yesterday, he didn't do. I think that was kind of the way the game kind of went, like, because they allowed him some more time on the ball and all that kind of stuff. So I think that maybe makes him look better than he was. He definitely wasn't the worst guy on the pitch, though. You're right.
And then finally, YK. Trying to think of, what, maybe Yusuf? No. Yuvasakartal? Anyway, for sure, there was nothing much.
Ismail YK, there's an artist. Maybe it's him.
Oh yeah, there we go. Y2K. For sure, there was nothing much to play for. Oh, this is about Rafa. Rafa out was correct, but it should be Semi in front in the place of Cheeto. Didn't GBB see Semi's performance up front last season? I mean, look, I've actually long held to the idea that I think Semi might be a winger, and I think he's a little too good on the ball to kind of stick him up front and leave him on an island if you don't have enough support. I think his ability to connect defense to midfield to attack, he comes back often, he's got high energy. He's so talented on the ball. I actually like Semi on the wing, and I don't have a problem with the fact that it looks like Giovanni van Bronckhorst sees him as a winger and Mustafa as a striker. If that's his decision, that's his decision. The only problem is that Mustafa might not be good enough.
Yeah, but you can see
as a backup.
I think you don't have to be that rigid in your view as a coach either. Like for example, Rafa, he sees him as a number 10. He sees him as a winger. You can do the same with Simi. In the scenario of yesterday, when you don't want to start with Chiro because you want to give him some rest, and maybe you give Semi a shot at as a striker. He did.
Look, but that's the risk you take, man.
Yeah.
You got 2, whatever.
Yeah,
it is what it is. I don't, I personally, I don't mind that decision. I don't mind him giving Mustafa that vote of confidence. And then I think you do the right thing. He didn't do very well. You putting Cheeto back out at the half. Hopefully you don't capitulate fully at that point.
I think he could have done it in a better scenario. Maybe I think someone like Mustafa, you need to ease in and you do it in like a cup game or something. But
yeah, no, I mean, we all agree this was too big of a match for him to be starting in. And it's probably not the case with Semi. I just, I think if his decision is that his backup is Mustafa, and Semi is his guy on the wing, who he brings in for that spark at this point, and hopefully, again, he gets started there ASAP.
Yeah,
but
I feel the same about Mucci, by the way. Like he doesn't he needs to give him chances in different positions. Like so far, he's only really tried him on the wings, but give him a chance behind the striker. Like in a game like yesterday, if you're going to start Rafa on the left, instead of starting Onana, maybe give Mucci a chance. If you want to do some rotation, give Mucci a chance in his natural position instead of putting Jetson on the 10.
Yeah. YK follows that up with, please watch Masuaku's corners yesterday. They were useless, not even reaching first crossbar. Lost many balls. He had an off day like many others. Too bad. Yeah, fully agree. He had a particularly bad off day. I think he and Svensson had the worst days, sadly. And Mert, maybe. I think maybe you actually have to add Mert Gunok to that as well. Yeah, and those are our vets too. I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
What are dead rings?
Sunshine Man, am I the only one who thinks that Onana and LeBron James are dead ringers? I do not think that, so I don't really know what you're talking about. I feel like I think Felix Udokai looks like Josh Hart. I'll give you if you want an NBA comp, but I don't know about Onana looking like LeBron. Next up, sorry about my strange looking messages. Unless I look at what I type each time, they look like this. Yeah, there's a lot of weird caps. That almost looked like that weird the SpongeBob meme, like back in the day when with the caps and the lowercase. But anyway, that's great job, everyone in the comments. Thanks for checking in, despite it being a dark day for all of us for the most part. You guys kept it active. I love to see it. Lots of new faces again. I love that every episode we've got like a new kind of top commenter lately. It's great to see. Although for the former top commenters, feel free to come in. We could have a very active chat group if everyone came on the same day.
Don't let your throne be stolen. Huh?
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, it is what it is yesterday. Like we said so many times already, we need to move on with a positive result. Before we go out, a couple of plugs. Like I said already, on Monday, our Eintracht Frankfurt preview is dropping. But you can already watch that if you join Patreon and support us on Patreon for just $1.99 a month. You can gain access to the Black Eagle VIP podcast, which is just for VIP members, and also early access to our videos, which aren't live, of course. Like, these shows are live, obviously. You don't get early access to something that's live, but our videos, you get live, you get early access to those. And sometimes we drop some behind the scenes stuff and all that kind of stuff. You can try it out for free for 7 days. If you go now and you become a member, you can try it for 7 days. And if you like it, stick around for a cup of coffee of the price of $1.99 a month. One more thing, I actually listened to the book of Atiba Hutchinson. I got the physical book, but I also have the audiobook. The audiobook is available on Audible. We are not sponsored by Amazon or Audible, by the way, but you can get this book on all the Amazons. So if you're living outside of Turkey, you can get it on all the Amazons. So if you're in the UK, you can get it on amazon.co.uk. If you're in Germany, on amazon.de. In the United States or Canada, on amazon.com or amazon.ca. You can get it everywhere. You can also get the book on Audible. If you are not yet a member of Audible, your first book is free. So if you sign up for Audible, you can get a first book for free. So you can make that the beautiful dream, written by Atiba Hutchinson and Dan Robson. And if you do, take a look at the last page. So get the book or get the audio book. Go and check out my review on the book. I finished it in 2 days. I couldn't stop listening to it the other day. I was up until 5 a.m., 5 in the morning, listening to it because I got to the last couple of chapters when he starts talking about Beşiktaş. And when it starts winding down, when he starts going towards the end of his career, and I'm almost tearing up again, I got legitimately emotional. I own over 150 books on Audible, so I am a little bit of an enthusiast when it comes to audiobooks. The performance by the reader was quite good. Wasn't perfect, but it was good. He had a couple of weird pronunciations. Fortunately, I'm not on Beşiktaş. He did that decently enough. Good performance on the audiobook. But a very good story, excellently written. It sucks you in straight away. You can just see Atiba as a small kid in your imagination, growing up, going through all the different stages in his life and in his career. There's a couple of amazing stories in it. I'm not going to spoil anything other than this, just to get you to read the book. On his first date with his now wife, he lost her dog. Go get the book.
Oh my God.
Read it, listen to it, I don't care. Go check out my review. It's up right now in our video section on YouTube. Get the book, get the book, get the book. Other than that, I do not have any more plugs. So Sinan, I'm going to let you take us out, my man, and then you can go and pick up your kid.
Yeah, exciting times. I'm actually, luckily that's already being done for me, but I've got to go to practice now. Look, first of all, the only thing you can do when things don't go your way is learn from the experience, use it as motivation to get better, and then do the work, required to make yourself better. So that's the plan. No matter what else we do regarding tactics or who plays in the 11 or whatever else, you just hope for a better mentality going forward. And with that in mind, and perhaps now more than ever, it's so important that I say, let's go Beşiktaş! Peace out, everybody! Later, folks.
Ortada Bobo. Şimdi Bobo'nun önüne. Bobo aldı. Bobo girdi. Bobo çok babasın. Çok harikasın. Çok güzelsin.